Hello, this is Caitlin Skluzacek. This is my presentation for assignment number 5, the Technology and Diversity in Education paper. When I was reflecting and trying to choose a topic from our textbook, Affirming Diversity by Nito and Bodhi, I was really overwhelmed because I actually really enjoyed the book. There were so many parts that jumped out at me, and then I just was like kind of feeling very overwhelmed because I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many good things. So, quite honestly, I had to pick something and like run with it because there were so many good parts. So, there was a part in the textbook on page 167 that I really, really connected to because it was like step by step. It gave me specific strategies that I could try to use and implement in my classroom. And so on page 167, there was just a little half box where Nito and Bodhi were saying, how can teachers continue to push themselves to respect and affirm student differences? And I think one of the reasons why I struggled with this paper so much, or why it was a challenge, was because that is so broad. And now, if I could go back, I probably would choose something that is a little bit more specific. When I look at the 3 suggestions, though, that Nito and Bodhi give to teachers, as far as, okay, these are all ways that you can respect and affirm student differences, the first suggestion is just honestly having a variety of methods of how you teach your content to students. And then with that variety, having high expectations for each student, no matter like where their background's bringing them from or whatnot. But something that I really liked was that Nito and Bodhi were saying, hold up, like we need to make sure that when we share this variety, all these variety of methods of teaching our students, we need to expose each student to each method of instruction. Not saying, oh, some students will have this method, some students will have this method, some students will have this method. They really felt it was important for each student to have exposure to a lot of different types of learning. So that was something that I really liked. This suggestion, number 1, having a variety of methods, was actually the part of my paper that I focused the most on with educational technology. When I got to suggestion number 2 and suggestion number 3, I found it a little bit more challenging to give examples of how educational technology can help, but I tried to include those in there. So, suggestion number 2 was really about teachers taking those small or maybe long moments in class and having that rapport with students. So that way, when you were able to connect with them on something, like I said, small or big outside of school, then you can bring that eagerness and that connection and that passion into their classroom with them. So, say I have an example in my paper about how, like, going to one of my students' basketball games can really, really show them, like, wow, she seriously cares about me and how I am a person outside of school too. And so it's just really fun to see once you go to their game or once you ask them that question about, like, how's your knowledge bowl meet? Or, hey, are you doing okay? You seem kind of sad. Like, what's going on? Making those connections are really going to engage them and can really make their learning flourish because they see that you care about them beyond just social studies or beyond just the content that you're teaching them. Suggestion number 3 that Nito and Bodhi give to teachers about how we can continuously respect and affirm student differences is to honestly continue to push yourself and your students to really I guess, genuinely or authentically believe in yourself that you are a lifelong learner. I give some examples in my paper about how students need to see teachers setting examples as far as like, hey, I'm taking classes for to learn about this, or I'm reading this book to learn about this, or I was doing research last night to learn more about this topic that we're discussing. They need to be able to see that teachers are setting that example, but then also like, hey, I want to be a lifelong learner because they're having fun with it. So, like, I should too. So, that was one thing that I was like, I can definitely continue to do a better job of, is just continuing to push myself to see myself as a lifelong learner. So to wrap up my presentation, I guess I just wanted to reflect on a couple of things as far as what I look forward to after this course and when I move into the next few weeks, months, years of my teaching. I am really excited to continue to teach my students about diversity and not just race, ethnicity, and that type of diversity. I mean, those are important, but also seeing all of the different facets of diversity and teaching that. I'd like to continue to recognize each student for who they are. I really enjoyed at the beginning of this class how we talked about identities and how we are not just one identity, that we are multiple identities. And then I'm also just really excited to continue to celebrate differences in adults that I come into contact with, and then also students that I'm teaching and coaching, and just all around. I think that this class has been really eye opening for me, and I look forward to using some of these practices in my future. So, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my presentation. Have a great night.